Hey ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
what if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, the legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cold check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do?
We give the people what they want. Do I need to explain to people what I mean when I say, what up, though, after you say my name?
No.
And on the cool check-in after yours?
No.
Let them catch up later on some Andre 3000.
Google it. Just Google it.
Okay, cool.
Charles.
Oak.
Mr. Oakley.
Debo.
Chuck. What happened? We all know what happened. By this time, you've seen the video. You've heard the stories. You've heard his side. You've heard the Knicks side. How did we get here, Mr. Rose?
Oak's family spent time with him last year during NBA Finals. He was really excited that his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers won the championship. I've mentioned him multiple times on this program, whether it was the incident he had with Charles Barkley during the late 90s lockout.
When he slapped Charles Barkley.
Whether it was me talking about how well he can cook, which people don't realize.
Excellent cook.
And so I wanted to give you those pillars of an individual that I affectionately call a real-life NBA Debo. When you talk about an enforcer that showed up with his lunch pail every day, and I talk a lot about players that are healthy, taking days off, and we talk a lot about fraternization in the league and players not taking it personal and where are the rivalries. I continued to foster that love for the game and how it was played by not only being a fan of watching it, the 80s, getting drafted in the mid-90s, but playing against and with people like Charles Oakley. And how do we get here? For me, it's a matter of integrity. When you're on the sideline and two people disagree, whether it's Russell Westbrook and KD, no matter the relationship, you don't intimately hear and know everything that took place. So ultimately, to decipher an opinion, you have to say what you feel, but ultimately take a side based on who do you think is going to truly tell the truth if they were in the hot seat.
Here's the Knicks side. Here's what the Knicks had to say. Quote, Charles Oakley came to the game tonight and behaved in a highly inappropriate and completely abusive manner. He has been ejected and is currently being arrested by the New York City Police Department. He was a great Knick, and we hope he gets some help soon. What does that say to you?
A few things. He came to the game, purchased his own ticket with a couple of friends in the area vicinity of Knicks owner James Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
He was at the game a handful of minutes. It's unclear what he said or if he said anything. That's one of those pillow talk things we all never truly know. But ultimately, was it more than the average fan says when they purchase a ticket? Probably not.
Probably not.
But this relationship has a history because he and James Dolan, for years it's been known that they just don't see eye to eye.
James Dolan doesn't like criticism of the New York Knicks organization, what they do in the front office, what they do in the court, or whatever. And he's got a long history of people that have been critical of the Knicks that have found themselves out of favor with the Knicks at James Dolan's behest.
And one of the loudest voices has been Charles Oakley. Mm-hmm. Whether it was him talking about the way they did Patrick Ewing, them not hiring Mark Jackson. The list goes on and on about moves that the Knicks have made, we all know, over the last 10 or 15 years that have been head-scratching and or questionable, which has led to that team not being a contender before Carmelo Anthony or with.
Oh yeah, that's
Carmelo Anthony.
Thomas stuff, the Donnie Wall stuff, the Starberry, the Steve Francis. There's a long list of moves.
So when you say abusive in the statement, that can be verbal, that can be psychological, that can be emotional. When you say he was arrested, we see the footage. The officers and or Garden security surrounded him, letting him know that he's been ejected from the game, him refusing to leave in an orderly manner, and all of a sudden he gets physical with the officers.
I have a question. We've all watched this video at least 35 times by now. He was charged with 3 counts of assault, 1 count of criminal trespass. Did you see 3 counts of assault?
Tyrone Hill and Jeff McGinnis, like 3 counts.
Did he get 3?
Wait a minute.
Did he assault 3 people?
He didn't get that with me.
I saw him aggressively knock some people's hands off of him, but did he assault 3 people?
Under the context, when you don't go orderly, that is what the charge dictates. They also say that he was a great Knick, and they hope that he gets the help he needs.
That seems like a veiled shot to me, because no one's ever said, you know what, Charles Oakley was intoxicated at the game. No one said that. The alcohol has not been brought up one little bit. However, when you say we hope he gets some help soon, you're intimating that alcohol was involved.
It's a veiled shot of some sort of addiction that led to the behavior, which is actually in reverse in a lot of manners, because as both sides have said, they even noted a great Knick. He played there 10 years. He said it. I love New York City.
And New York City loves him.
I want to see them do well. So much so, there are people right now that are Knick fans saying, free Oak, arrest Phil, arrest Dolan.
Of course.
So how did we get here? James Dolan, if you listen to this program the last handful of years, I continued to stress this when people weren't paying attention. He purchased the conscience. It was a brilliant move. We talk about the Forbes list every year, and I bring this topic up, the last couple. People were protesting outside of the Garden because of his ownership, and they were really unhappy. And you know what he did? Went hire Phil. Gave him a boatload of money, $60 million.
That worked out great.
Highest paid executive
That
ever.
worked out great.
He's now going to take the bullet so I don't have to, and it shows face to my fans that I'm trying to turn this thing around. What does Phil do? Draft Porzingis. Oh, we love Porzingis' potential. He's a knockout prospect. He has what it takes to be a future All-Star, but he hasn't been the type of player that's going to come right in and be all NBA. Not many players are. Then you sign Carmelo Anthony to a maximum deal. Melo likes that you got Phil. Melo likes that you drafted Porzingis. But I've been here a few years. 1, y'all got to give me top dollar. 2, I need a no trade clause. He's the third person in the league that has that, behind Dirk and LeBron James. So now the Knicks and Carmelo are handcuffed together. And you continue to see the dysfunction and the hideous nature of a dysfunctional organization play out right in front of our very eyes.
What Charles Oakley is doing here, and I don't think he's even doing it on purpose, but he's doing it so well, is he is embodying every frustrated Knicks fan. There are 23,000 Knicks fans surrounding him, and they all want to yell at the owner. They all want to give him a piece of their mind, but they're not close enough. And you know what? Charles says he didn't say anything. Maybe he didn't say anything, but maybe he did. And maybe what he said was how he felt about the team that the Knicks were putting out, how he felt about the way the franchise is being run, and what happens right then when he does that, especially when the establishment, when the security comes over and he needs to get whisked away because he's being critical of the Knicks. That just makes Knicks fans love him more. It's just like, thank you, Charles Oakley. Thank you, somebody, for standing up and putting your foot on the table and say, we will not accept this anymore, because when little old us chant, when we put paper bags on our head, when we go outside and protest, that doesn't get it done. Thank you, Charles Oakley, for representing New York Knicks fans and for looking great with gray hair. Did you ever consider letting yourself go gray when you saw that? I was like, that's a good look.
Hey, when the time comes, I'm
liked
ready.
it. I liked the grays. If you were one of the security guards, okay, and you get word, hey, James Dolan wants you to go over and confront Charles Oakley, What's your response?
Who coming with me?
How many? I just be like, I gotta know, man. It's break time. This is break. This is time for break.
I need an army.
This is time
to
for break.
6'9", 270.
You know what? I'm going on vacation.
Heavy, big
right
hands.
now. Unhappy? I wouldn't do it. Nope. So here's what Oakley said. Quote, I was there for 4 minutes. I didn't say anything to him. I swear on my mother, they came over and wanted to know why I was sitting there. I bought the ticket. I said, why do you guys keep staring at me? Then they asked me to leave, and I said I'm not leaving. Oakley went on to explain that because of his history of being critical of the Knicks and his tumultuous relationship with owner James Dolan, that they've got a special security team on Oakley watch. Let's listen to him explain.
It's a rule. 4 security guys walked over me. I was at a game. So when I got up at halftime, they followed me to the bathroom. They followed me back to my seat. I got witness. It was one of the John Gotti guys there. Some other guys I was with. They like, why isn't they following Oak to the bathroom? I didn't know until they told me.
John Gotti's somewhere like Oak. Don't bring me into this, Oak.
You get jammed up?
Don't
mention my name.
John Gotti's somewhere like, Charles, I love you. I love you
You
so
a member
much.
of the Dark Alley team, and we would allow you into the family. However,
I love you, Charles. You are one of the most intimidating players to ever play in the NBA. However, I'm one of the most intimidating people to ever walk the planet, okay? So when you get jammed up, don't mention my name. But he was explaining that there's a security team that every time he goes to the Garden, follows him around. That can get really frustrating. And maybe he didn't say anything to James Dolan. Maybe James Dolan heard he was there and said, you got to get the security guys to watch him. And I can understand how that could ruffle your feathers a little bit. If you paid to be there and you've got someone sitting there staring at you, like just waiting for you to do something.
Also, it's rude. It's disrespectful. It's something that's not happening to the other patrons. So it becomes obvious that you have a target. And as a former player of multiple teams, I'm clearly not obligated to always talk good about them, or I couldn't do this job.
No.
If everybody always took it personal, coach, player, fan base, ownership, things that we said about teams, then you might as well erase the history of every player that wants to do this job if he's going to do it objectively.
Of course.
So it's not in his duty to only talk about the great things about the former team that he played for. That's just unrealistic, especially for an outspoken person like he is, that's really honest, and he does not get along with the owner, literally.
We haven't prepared this, but I think we're on the same page here. Who is the best play-by-play broadcaster in the history of the National Basketball Association?
Clyde Frazier.
Marv Albert. Clyde Frazier's a color guy. That would be my pick. In 2004, the Knicks did not renew Marv Albert's contract because he was critical of the Knicks.
What?
You decided not to have Marv Albert call your games. It was Albert and Clyde Frazier because he was critical of the Knicks. It just upsets me.
When you're watching a local telecast of an NBA game or a football broadcast, Major League Baseball, I'm going to teach fans how to acknowledge the distinction. When you travel with the team, you're at practice every day, you go to each game, you fly on the plane and on the bus with the team, that usually takes away 90% of your objectivity.
Of course.
Because you're an employee of the squad.
You're part of the family.
So
you know
when you're
too much.
watching the Celtics play and you hear Tommy Heinsohn,
he's objective, Jalen. He is completely objective. What are you talking about? Anyone with League Pass knows how objective and down the middle and fair and just he is.
And so from that, there's also an inherent obligation that former coaches, players, and organizations think we as former players should have. But here's the difference. We're not on the staff anymore. We're not getting paid by the team. So I'm allowed to have my opinion and allow it to be unbiased, and don't try to muzzle me.
Well, they're trying to muzzle Charles Oakley, and he says that he didn't say anything to James Dolan. I'm not sure I believe it.
I got something for that real quick. It's a one-sentence thing. It's a semantic. Spent time around Oak. I've done this. I read between the lines all of the time. He probably didn't say anything to James Dolan. I bet he said something about him.
Maybe perhaps that he could hear.
I bet he said something in an earshot that he could get acknowledged by.
I wasn't addressing him directly. He wasn't even looking at me.
That influenced his first, middle, or last name and or the team that he owns.
Well, Oakley wasn't mic'd, So I've got a list of 5 things here that Oakley might have said, not to James Dolan, because I believe Charles Oakley, but maybe around James Dolan. About James Dolan, within earshot of James Dolan. Are you ready? You tell me whether or not you think this happened. Charles Oakley actually said, the only thing worse than the Knicks is your blues band. Maybe.
I think that flies. Yes.
Your dad gave you the Knicks to keep you from his real businesses.
I agree with that. And that's not just in New York. Don't underestimate the flagrant nepotism that has not only buried the Knicks, but also the Lakers. Please continue.
Phil Jackson makes me want Isaiah Thomas back.
Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, and Mike Woodson, who did a really good job. And by the way, just like you said about not bringing back Marv Albert for being critical of the team, if you noticed, for someone that has a history playing with the Knicks, they purposely go out of their way not to bring back people who have a history with the team, because just like Oakley's loved by the city, they won't bring back Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, Thibodeau, people that
they will have the power of the people.
Correct. And that's what's at play here as well.
Do you think
and Patrick Ewing falls into that category also.
Do you think he yelled, "Why are you wearing a scarf inside"?
No, he didn't say that.
He didn't say that? Even John McEnroe hates you.
He didn't say that either.
How come John McEnroe didn't have his back? I'm sure they have a relationship. If you see me getting hemmed up by security, you can at least sort of like throw a word out there, be like, "Hey guys, take it easy," something.
McEnroe was like, "This dude a fire-breathing dragon." I acted like that while I was competing playing tennis, but I'm trying to have some beverages and enjoy the Knicks. And something played out yesterday as a Midwesterner that played for the Knicks. You can always act like it's not an East Coast bias that takes place. It's a large media market.
Sure.
When your television guide is set, it's on Eastern Standard Time for everybody that doesn't realize it. The Knicks haven't won a championship since '73. Pull out the Forbes list. Okay, there's power that goes to that. And I always appreciate how New Yorkers put things on steroids.
What are you talking about?
If Jeremy Lin is playing well, oh man, all of a sudden the country deals with Linsanity.
Yeah, of course.
That's just how it goes in New
city
York.
in the world, most influential city in the world.
And so that played out yesterday. They made a run. You see Spike Lee, you see Chris Rock, you see McEnroe, you see everybody enthusiastic.
They lost by 10.
And then they lost by 10.
They lost by 10. I heard that they sent Phil Jackson to the tunnel to try to calm down Charles Oakley. I also heard that when he got there, he handed him a joint and said, "Hit this, Charles. Chill out."
Charles doesn't smoke, so he probably put out his other hand and said, "Talk to MJ."
I heard that too. They're like, someone had a report. They're like, "Yeah, they got MJ on the phone with Oak." You know, MJ got his text like, "Wait, what? Wait, what happened? What happened?" Wait, and then he called Charles. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. They made me call you. I don't know what to tell you." I have a theory about this Charles Oakley thing, and it involves Carmelo Anthony. Who are Carmelo Anthony's banana boat brothers?
LeBron?
Yep.
CP3?
Yep.
Dwayne Wade?
Exactly. After this Oakley incident, where Oakley was rallying against the New York Knicks franchise, it was one man, but not just one man representing an entire city, an entire legion of millions of fans upset with this franchise. Carmelo Anthony, how's his relationship with Phil Jackson been lately?
Frosty.
Very frosty. Well, Carmelo Anthony's banana boat brothers, each one of them took to social media in support of Charles Oakley. First, we had LeBron James. Simple, clear, put up a picture of Oakley, old Oakley with the flat top. Hashtag legend. Then we have Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade put up a picture with this caption. 10 years Oak gave everything he had for this organization, and the image everyone will be left with won't be this picture. It will be the image of him being taken down to the ground last night in the same arena he gave his all to as a player by the guards.
And I have to give a distinction, too.
He didn't get taken to the ground.
The reason why they almost got him to the ground is because it looked like he was trying to take off his watch. If he'd have got his arms free, I think it would have been a problem for them. That would have been a different visual of footage that people wouldn't want to see.
And then we have CP, who had a very insightful observation. Remember, the last sentence of the Knicks official statement was, quote, "He was a great Knick and we hope he gets some help soon." Here's what CP3 wrote. "Hope he gets some help soon, not the right way to portray Oak. Always had my back and the realest person our league has seen. Hashtag Uncle Oak." Now, you have astutely pointed out that we all talk about what gets said in the media, and we get the sound bites from after the game, and we analyze those and break those down, and just chew up every little molecule of them. But you said once that, don't you know there's a group text with the Banana Boat brothers? There's a group text. They're all texting each other. They're giving each other the real. Those CP3, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James know exactly how Carmelo feels. We don't. And they all know what's going on. And they've all talked about potentially playing together. Let's get Carmelo to the Clippers. Let's get Carmelo to the Cavs. Is it a coincidence that all three of these gentlemen just so happen to publicly support Charles Oakley in his fight against the Knicks?
Not at all. Go back through each of their pages and see what in unison they've posted all together in the past. There wasn't an advertising, marketing, or promotion.
What do you think is happening on that group text?
Since Phil feels like he's going to take shots at Bron and sabotage Melo, we're going to return the fire in ways that we can.
Do you think they use emojis on that group text?
Nah. I hope not.
Do you think they use capital letters and the right punctuation?
Nah, I hope not.
There was a report that all of this public disrespect from Phil Jackson towards Carmelo Anthony, and this comes from the Woj, is just solidifying Anthony's desire to stay with the franchise in a way that can only be read as, if you want me to leave, I'm going to stay because I'm going to do the opposite of what you want. Do you think there could be any truth to that?
No, because if the right deal was to come to Cleveland or Los Angeles, he'd be gone. The problem is that has not taken place. The other thing, if he didn't have a no-trade clause, he'd be gone. If Phil could get fired and collect his next 2 years without being the president of basketball operations, it seems that's what he's trying to do. He would be gone. So it's almost like one of those things where they're all handcuffed together. David Blaine style, except they can't get out.
Let's imagine that there's a new press release from Madison Square Garden. It reads, effective immediately, Phil Jackson will be relieved of his duties as president of basketball operations. In his place, we have hired Knick legend Charles Oakley. Just riddle me this. How do you think Knicks fans would respond to that?
Well, that's just unrealistic because he got into it. He got into it with the owner. In no way he's gonna be getting hired by the team. Come on, man. You know better than that.
Jalen, I was proposing that in an attempt at humor. I wanted you to go down the hypothetical highway with me.
Okay.
And you know what you did? You stopped the car. You stopped the car. You opened up the passenger door. You took your foot and kicked me out onto the side of the hypothetical highway.
My bad, family. You ran 15 miles today. You can catch up with the car.
And then you pulled over and backed over me. And then you looked to make sure I was dead, and I wasn't, and you just pulled over me again.
I'm sorry, my friend.
Where do you think
It'll
Carmelo
never happen again.
Where do you think Carmelo Anthony ends up?
New York for the rest of the season.
What? Oh, come on, man. You know I'm a die easy Knicks fan. Really? Spike Lee says he will pack Phil Jackson's bags. Phil Jackson has an opt-out. And remind you, he can opt out of making another $12 million for doing nothing next year, which doesn't seem like a great proposal.
They did an interview since September.
Is there any chance that Phil Jackson opts out?
No, who walks away from $24 million?
I'll tell you who does. Someone who hired Hornacek, kept Rambis, brought on Derrick Rose, not even knowing that he was involved in a civil trial that he was found not guilty in, but some very, 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 very disturbing details were involved. Same guy that made the posse comments Same guy that called Carmelo a ball hog. Same guy that watched as LeBron and the Cavs flipped the bottle on the floor at Madison Square Garden.
My posse's on Broadway.
The same guy that lost Derrick Rose for a couple days. Just lost him. Just didn't know where he was. Just wasn't responding. Couldn't get a text back. The same guy who had his boy write a blog post critical of Carmelo. The same guy that referenced an article critical of Carmelo while trying to trade Carmelo. Don't you think that guy could just say, you know what, I'm rich enough right now. I don't need the drama. I'm opting out at the end of the season. Please tell me.
It's not the money, it's the circumstance. Larry Brown did this exact same thing. He felt that he was going to run the Knicks into the ground, publicly humiliate the organization, and then coach 3 more years. Instead, after 1 year, he got fired. And that's truly what he probably wanted, and then got another job in Charlotte while being paid top dollar from the Knicks. Phil would take that cash and ride off into the sunset and probably try to be some sort of consultant for the Lakers.
As someone who wants to see Phil go very badly, do you know what was some of the most disturbing news I got? Nothing to do with Charles Oakley. Just all those terrible things that happened weren't as terrible as this. Found out that him and Jeannie broke up. That takes that whole consulting for the Lakers thing off the table and hurts my heart.
So now we're even.
Jalen Rose, I have a proposal for Charles Oakley. If I were Charles Oakley, here's what I would do. I would buy the exact same seats that I was sitting in when I was rudely escorted from Madison Square Garden, where I worked for 10 years entertaining the great people of New York City. And I would sit there and I would spend the entire game not watching the game, but staring at James Dolan. Do you think that's a good idea?
Ooh, and I like it.
You like it?
It's an expensive proposition just to look at the back of somebody's head. But at this point, he becomes a folk hero for all New York Knicks fans that wish they had the opportunity to scream at the owner. So much so, they set up a protest of their owner a few years ago. But it got canceled when he did something that they thought was smart.
What was that?
Hire Phil Jackson and gave him $60+ million to run basketball operations.
How'd that work out? You know what? I'm going to revise my proposal. He should spend the first half staring at James Dolan and the second half staring at Phil Jackson. Are you familiar with
Cool G Rap?
Michael Smith and Jamel Hill?
Yes, indeed.
Have you seen them on the tube lately?
Family. I got a chance to go on that show yesterday.
I saw that.
I was like, wait a minute, can I be bruh, man?
Yeah, you look good.
Y'all looking way too comfortable. Like, I need to start spending more time up here.
Good.
They got a budget.
They got promotions on promotions on promotions. They got everybody at ESPN salty.
I'm like, wow.
They got everybody at ESPN salty.
Calling their agents.
Yeah,
like, look what you did for their show.
You know, how come they got 2 different sets of promotions and we didn't get any? We like being in the trunk. We also like Michael and Jamel.
Yes,
we
indeed.
Want to congratulate
Big shout.
them on their success.
Fellow Detroit homie Jamel Hill, also a staunch supporter of the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. And Michael Smith, not only a friend but a former colleague I did a television show with called Numbers Never Lie. That became his and hers, that sprungboard them now hosting the SC6.
So, I mean, you could take some credit, right?
Not at all.
No, it's taking 4%.
Take no
4%?
credit.
Come on. Come on. I'm giving you 2%.
No credit
I'm giving you
for
2%.
me to take.
Well, not only are they hosting the 6, they've also been announced as the coaches of the All-Star Weekend Celebrity Game.
Oh, man, they're going to have haters in the building. They got more gigs?
More gigs. More exposure for Jamel and Michael. You've been a coach of the Celebrity Game before.
You were my assistant.
The very controversial evening. Well, we don't have to get into it.
Well, we're not going to get into it.
We're not going to get into
all
it.
Right, but
very controversial evening.
All I got to say this. David Jacoby was my assistant at the Celebrity Game. I won't name names. I was happy that we beat the Podfather and his team with Zach Lowe. I will acknowledge this, however. Charles Oakley and David Jacoby have something in common.
We have something in common.
Except David didn't behave the way Charles did.
No. Our hairlines look similar, though.
When he got ejected.
We'll talk about that some other time. But if anyone's ever wondering how come Jacoby's not playing in the Celebrity All-Star game, first of all, I'm not invited. But if they did invite me, I will politely decline. Let's just say that. But let's look at the rosters. I'm going to read through them quickly, and then you can ask me follow-up questions about some of the people that you might not be familiar with. Are you ready for that?
Let's get it.
We got Miles Brown, Tom Cavanaugh, Mark Cuban, Baron Davis, Andy Grammer, Zhang Jinfu, sorry if I said that wrong, Anthony Mackie, Romeo Miller, Hassan Minaj, Master P, Candace Parker, Aaron Sanchez, Jason White Chocolate Williams. I have some questions for you before you ask me who some of these people are.
Okay.
Is Mark Cuban playing in the game? He's on the team.
Like, yes.
I think he's playing in the game.
Yes.
And you know what I want to say? I want to give him a big shout out.
Me too,
because you could duck that. It's so easy to duck that.
Oh, do us Phil Jackson?
Yeah, you could
duck out and not talk to the media since
duck
September.
Out and not deal with it. Like it just, and he could have just said, no, thank you. I don't want to embarrass myself. He's an owner of a team. He's a billionaire. He's not an actor trying to get some exposure on the come up. You know what I mean? He is a billionaire, and he's risking embarrassment, injury, and just if he trips and falls or whatever, the Dallas Mavericks are never ever going to let him hear the end of it. And I respect him for taking that risk. Jason Williams can ball. I've got some inside information about another member of this team, Tom Cavanaugh. You're not familiar with his work, that's fine. He's a television actor, an excellent actor. Also, was a member of the same gym that I was in Manhattan. Me and Tommy C got some buckets together. This dude can ball. He's from Canada. He looks like Steve Nash, and he plays just like Steve Nash. He's not MVP sleeper pick, but he's my sleeper pick of the dude that gets a really good matchup because no one's ever heard of him, doesn't think he's that nice because he's not that tall, and ends up getting like 15 in the first half, and they switch one of the pros onto him. That's what's going to happen there. Any other names on Michael's team that jump out at you?
Well, besides Baron Davis,
of course,
and Anthony Mackie, Romeo and Master P.
Mm-hmm.
The other MVP candidate for me, Candace Parker.
Yes. Well, I've been explained to from some former coaches of the All-Star Celebrity Game, no, not naming any names, Jalen and Bill, that the WNBA players are not so enthusiastic about their time on the floor. There's a lot of sort of people that aren't exactly professional basketball players, that limbs go in all sorts of different directions, and they could just risk some things that they don't want to be risking out there. So they're not trying to get LeBron minutes during that game.
Well, I didn't experience that because the game I coached, the couple of the WNBA players were Della Don and Skylar Diggins, and they showed up and balled.
Well, perhaps that was just a problem on the other team. I expect big things from Romeo Miller. I really do. And now we'll take a look at Jamel's team. Brandon Armstrong, Wynn Butler, Nick Cannon, Rachel Demita, Ansel Egort, sorry if I said your name wrong, Mark Lasry, Caleb McLaughlin, Peter Rosenberg, friend of the show, Oscar Schmidt, Lindsay Whalen, Jason Williams again, Chris Wu.
Can you woo?
Okay, obviously, Chris Wu is going to be one of my favorites because his last name is Wu, spelled like Wu-Tang. So automatically, I'm a fan. He's a Chinese-born Canadian actor, singer, and model. He was in XXX, Return of Xander Cage. Who jumps out at you there?
You shouted Peter Rosenberg. Mm-hmm. Nick Cannon jumps out at me.
Mm-hmm.
And Oscar Schmidt, for those that don't know, put up 40-plus on Team USA back in the day.
Did not know that,
this
Mr.
is like
Rose.
88.
I did not know that. Jason Williams, our colleague Jason Williams, not White Chocolate Jason Williams. So there's something that's amiss here as I read these rosters. How are you going to do this game without Kevin Hart and Michael Rappaport? How do you do that?
Well, Kevin Hart has already won the fan vote MVP for 3 or 4 straight years.
I mean, they could have someone put up 120 points with 40 rebounds and no assists because they have 120 points, and they would still lose to Kevin Hart for the MVP. But don't sleep on Rappaport. Rappaport, can get some buckets, and he's funny. He brings a levity to the game. He'll have some hard fouls. He'll start a little scuffle. He brings a little bit of the entertainment that we need.
Both of those gentlemen clearly juggle multiple gigs and multiple jobs. Maybe they have another appearance or other obligations.
If they ask you to play in the game, would you play?
No.
Oscar Schmidt's playing. Jason Williams is playing.
It's not my goal at this point of my life to play basketball for others' entertainment.
If Charles Oakley asked you to play, would you play?
No, I'll coach.
You'll coach?
Now, summer leagues or off wax or runs at the gym on the weekend, yeah. But just suiting up, name on the marquee, charity game, yes. Celebrity game, very limited.
Who's your MVP pick from these two rosters?
If he really wants it, Jay Will of ESPN will win MVP. If he doesn't want it, Romeo's going to get it.
And we putting it on wax.
So we opened up our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, and we asked the people. We said, send us your submissions for the Dark Alley Hall of Fame. And in typical Jalen and Jacoby style, it wasn't a particularly organized request that we put out there, but we got some very good results. A lot of what we got were sort of starting 5 Dark Alley teams consisting of NBA players. Some people went outside of the NBA world. But my first question for you, Mr. Rose, before we get into this is, what exactly is a Dark Alley player?
I'll keep it simple. A Dark Alley player is the one that protects individuals like me that go into the dark alley, and all of a sudden you're going to need help to get out. I'm a hold me back candidate. The dark alley person is just the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
He's, come on.
They're comfortable.
Where is he?
They're comfortable in the physical confrontations. They invite potential bouts of violence.
Yes.
Whereas people like us run from potential bouts of violence. Proudly. You know how like some rappers say never ran, never will? I'll run real quick.
And you know what? Speaking of running, you're my idol. 15 miles today?
15 miles this morning.
You are a legend.
I'm very serious about this marathon training. Did 15 miles this morning. Nipples feel great. Legs feel good. Everything's okay. I think I'm going to actually run this marathon. Okay. So, because you made up the Dark Alley team as far as I'm concerned, you are the person who evaluates who belongs in the Dark Alley Hall of Fame. So a lot of these people, let's just keep a running list of people's names that come up throughout this exercise that you would put in.
It's really important to do this.
What's important?
We're not the NFL, and I'm not the media. I'm not going to just put 15 people in at once.
Okay.
And I'm not going to keep people out that I may or may not like.
Okay. Well, I've one sort of nitpicky note on that statement. You're not the media?
Nitpicky.
Spell nitpicky.
Nitpicky.
Good for you. All right. Benjamin proposes Marshawn Lynch, Meta World Peace, Brock Lesnar, Zach Randolph, Charles Oakley. It's a great list. That's a great list.
We're not putting too many people in at once.
I'm not putting Brock Lesnar in there. Like if you're a fighter, like sort of like by trade,
can we just induct maybe one person today or two people
here's
today?
What's happening today. We're not inducting anybody today. You are just taking these names in consideration.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we're not inducting anybody.
Okay,
That's
cool.
a whole different segment.
Okay,
for
cool.
a whole different
we gotta
show.
have a ceremony, hang their jersey.
I mean, come on, that's a real thing.
Okay.
Like this is just people that I need you to just consider.
Okay,
maybe
gotcha.
some names, like maybe Marshawn Lynch comes to mind. Like, oh, okay. Neil is proposing Oak, and Oak.
Dylan, and Dylan.
Tilhard has an NBA All-Dark Alley team for you to consider. Just some names here. And just tell me which ones pop out that maybe you didn't consider, because there's a name here I didn't consider, which is good. Oak in all caps. Sheed, Boogie, Zebo, and an interesting name here. Xavier McDaniel.
Xavier McDaniel, that's very nice. I remember him throwing hands. One of my good friends, rest in peace, in high school, Michael Hamilton, that was his favorite player. To the point we started calling him X-Mike.
Oh, X-Mike?
True story, and that's a terrific candidate.
One thing I remember about Xavier McDaniel is this. If you are old enough to remember the 2 or 3 years, and I'm going to say early 90s, when the Malcolm X thing was huge. Malcolm X hats, Malcolm X chains, like the X was just on every article of clothing it could possibly be on. Xavier McDaniel came out with a line of shoes where instead of a Nike swoosh, it was an X. And it was a very, very fortunate turn of events for him. It was the perfect timing. And those shoes, you can't find anymore. That was a brief moment in history.
And by the way,
Xavier
for those that don't know, Charles Oakley, Xavier McDaniel, they actually fought in the past.
Really? Both former Knickerbockers as well. Did they fight on the floor or did they fight off the floor?
On the floor.
What percentage of fights do you think Charles Oakley has been in that were on the floor versus off?
30%.
30% on the floor?
I thought you were talking about all NBA fights.
No.
It's almost like Phil in the finals, 20 times, 11 rings. It's probably been 70 championships. Oak has been in that many fights.
Here's an interesting list. It goes outside of the world of basketball. This comes from Frank. And again, this is Dark Alley Hall of Fame submissions for Jalen Rose to evaluate, take note of, for when we eventually have the Dark Alley Hall of Fame ceremony, whatever. We don't know. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Frank says, James Harrison, Mike Tyson, Conor McGregor, Ron Artest, Lawrence Taylor, game over. Anybody from that you would consider?
James Harrison.
That's a good one.
Is a good one that comes to mind. Ron Artest, his induction is tricky, almost like Barry Bonds to the Hall of Fame. Here's why. Because there's a difference for me fighting other players versus fighting the fans.
That's an important distinction to make. I have trouble inducting Lawrence Taylor into things. I'll just leave it at that. I have trouble just celebrating Lawrence Taylor right now. It's tricky.
True. Like that.
Let's move on. Interesting submissions from Matt here. Oak, Bill Laimbeer, Meta World Peace, Aaron Hernandez, and Ray Lewis. Aaron Hernandez is not getting in.
And Ray Lewis probably doesn't want to be a part of this conversation.
So let's move on. The next we have from Alex, Pat Beverly, Tony Allen, Matt Barnes, Dennis Rodman, Oakley, Bill Laimbeer, Artest. What do you think about Rodman's potential for the Dark Alley Hall of Fame?
I like Laimbeer's potential.
You think so? Mm-hmm. Do you think that's just because you're a Pistons fan?
What was the rally cry of that Pistons basketball team?
Bad Boys?
Okay. Well, a couple of people carried the torch, not just one. In particular, Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, and the inductee from that team, I got a guard, Isaiah Thomas.
For the Dark Alley Hall of Fame?
Man, Isaiah.
Someone's biased.
Man, let me tell you something.
Someone's biased.
Google.
I don't have to.
Okay. Trust me. I got it. Isaiah Thomas as a guard is on the floor like Oakley is the forward.
Is Isaiah Thomas in your phone?
Yes, so is Oakley.
I know. I'm just saying. You might be a little biased here.
So is Oakley.
You might be a little biased here.
So is Zebo.
What do you think? We'll talk about that later.
So is Matt Barnes. So is Ron Artest.
You gonna pick those up? Just dropped a bunch of names on the floor. Next group we have to consider. This is an interesting group from Faraz. Shaquille O'Neal, Yao Ming, Boban, Big Show, and Kali. I don't know who Kali is, but it seems like he was just thinking of large human beings. But Boban is interesting. He might be as docile,
but none of those guys are angry.
That's the thing. But Boban is just physically intimidating.
Yes.
He freaks me out.
Right.
I would be freaked out by that. Now I just want to put this out here just for you to say, just inspire you, perhaps. Trey the hard way. It's just give a good list of names. Oh, this is extra. OJ, Ray Lewis, Don King, Mike Tyson, Albert Bell, Romo Cop, Tanya Harding, Spreewell, LT, Debo, Mick Sorley.
No inductees, great candidates.
Tanya Harding can't get a look?
No,
Tanya
that
Harding
happened in
can't
Detroit.
get a look? That's happened in Detroit? Of course that happened in Detroit. Do you know that they're filming a movie? Margot Robbie is starring as Tanya Harding.
I did not know this.
Will you watch that movie?
If I'm on, if I had a remote in my hand, there's nothing else on, possibly.
Jalen, you're a great friend. And
That's mutual.
When I was struggling with the news that Jay-Z and Beyonce were having twins, and essentially completely copying my family with one older child and then twins, like everyone's going to talk about, the twin parents, Jay-Z and Beyonce. No one's going to mention Jacoby. We have some more news. George and Amal Clooney are also expecting twins.
Are you going to be okay?
No. I understand I shouldn't feel this way. I understand this makes me a bad person, but I feel like what was unique about me and my family and my life is not so unique anymore. It's not so special to have twins anymore. When you bring up twins, everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, like the Clooneys, like the Carters. Should I just be happy for him and keep it moving?
Jay-Z and Beyonce will have 2 boys.
Oh, you're going, oh, okay. 2 boys. Oh no, that's the worst. That's the worst combo right there.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
I think with those great couples and their celebrity status, you'll be mentioned to just be third.
The list of Patriots that are not attending the White House just keeps growing. Now, they haven't been invited yet, but if they were, Martellus Bennett wouldn't be there, Devin McCourty wouldn't be there, Dante Hightower wouldn't be there, LeGarrette Blount would not be there, and now Chris Long would also not be there. Will all of this lead to Trump not officially inviting the New England Patriots to the White House?
You've talked about what is going to transpire here. That formal visit that teams normally take, they're going to eliminate teams turning it down by creating a photo op for some of the people that are part of the organization that are willing to participate.
There will be no official invite from the White House to the New England Patriots. That is my prediction. And remember where you heard it first. Huge turnaround for the Patriots in the second half. And you have to wonder when something like that happens. I wonder what the halftime speech was like. I wonder what coach, what player stood up in front of this team down by an insurmountable lead. What was said to inspire the team? Well, Julian Edelman told us what was said. Are you ready? Quote, our coaches said, let's just play one play at a time. We can't worry about things we can't control. Let's just worry about what we can control. Is that the worst halftime speech you've ever heard in your whole entire life?
I saw him on the late night show.
Bearded.
With Bill Belichick.
Trim that thing up.
And they're not going to pull you behind the curtain and give you details about things that were said.
Let's just control what we can control. Let's just control what we can control. Sounds like that just sounds ridiculous to me. That's ridiculous. Kate Upton posted the notes from a wedding planning meeting that she had with Justin Verlander. The notes look like this. One big, huge, all caps word followed by 2 exclamation points, 2 underlines. That word, fun. Right underneath that, also in all caps, 1 exclamation point, no underline, party. Under that is a subheading. There's a dash, lowercase, tequila question mark, and food question mark. Does this sound like a great wedding to you?
It does.
It sure does.
Priorities are perfectly in order.
Fun and party. Maybe tequila's involved, maybe food is involved. Those priorities are absolutely perfect. If someone asked me for wedding planning advice, I would just send them this and say, this is all you need to know. Bad news, Jalen. Jabari Parker has been confirmed with a torn ACL in his left knee.
The same knee that he previously injured, a non-contact injury, was slashing to the basket, did a jump stop. Hopefully the surgery went well, and I'm going to wish him a speedy recovery. A terrific young talent that if he can stay healthy, has what it takes to have a long, productive NBA career.
We all know LeBron wants a playmaker. They have an open roster spot. Lance tried out. Mario Chalmers tried out. There were reports that LeBron was trying to push Kevin Love into the Knicks organization just to pull his banana boat brother Carmelo Anthony out.
And Brandon Jennings.
Well, they've brought LeBron his playmaker. They've signed Derek Williams to a 10-day contract.
What?
This isn't about playmaking. It's about playing some minutes up front. And LeBron leading the league in minutes. All-Star break is hovering. That makes sense based on their forward dynamic because he's more of a slasher, while Love can get boards and shoot threes and really play a complete game on the post. He'll fit in up front if he's able to make the team.
Charleston, South Carolina. They've spotted an alligator. It's not that crazy. However, this alligator
That's where the homie Charlemagne the God from.
is orange.
What?
Is an orange alligator more or less terrifying than a regular colored alligator?
I'm going to say no.
Ooh,
You can't
it's kinda
duplicate
cute.
the original. But it being in a different color, it's one of those head-scratching things, almost like when you see an Easter bunny not realizing that they don't lay eggs.
You've seen the Easter Bunny?
On Easter. How many times have you seen Easter bunnies?
I've never seen the Easter Bunny.
What's attributed to Easter bunnies? Eggs.
What did you say to the Easter Bunny when you saw it?
I was just going on Easter bunny hunts around the house. In the
I have a
neighborhood.
theory about this alligator. Because you know I'm a part-time scientist, right?
You are.
No one spray painted this alligator. No one painted this alligator. Do you have an algae in the water? I'm going to say that tomorrow the big headline will be, oh, that's not an orange alligator. That was just an alligator covered with algae from this one particular pond. You're welcome for that. Real simple question. Should Terrell Owens be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Why isn't Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame? Not so simple a question.
Media members taking their duties too personal and not being professional based on his productivity. You can't only vote for a player that you like. This is one of the things when you're watching television. Now, based on relationships, and I know who knows who, when a player's name comes up, I pretty much know what the person is speaking is going to say. The people that are really good at this, you don't know what they're going to say, regardless of who they're talking about. And the media got caught up in a personal thing with Terrell Owens.
Should Charles Oakley buy the exact same tickets to the next Knicks home game?
As many times as he can.
I love that idea. I want him to be right back in that seat, not saying anything to anybody, just staring at James Dolan the entire time.
Oh, we got a problem here?
Let's listen to the first voicemail.
Jalen, who do you think would win in a one-on-one matchup? A 7-foot Jacoby with LeBron athleticism, or a 2017 Amari Stoudemire? Thanks.
We appreciate the support of the program.
Of course.
Thank you kindly for taking the time to even call in and leave your voicemail.
Love it.
A couple of things. You didn't say your name. You didn't say where you're from. And then you're taking shots at my brother.
But here's the thing. A 7-foot Jacoby with LeBron's athleticism, how do I lose anything?
No,
I'm
but hold
7
on.
feet. I got LeBron's athleticism.
Hit the brakes. We don't know.
How do I lose anything?
Don't give me no 7-foot LeBron.
That's what he said.
Jacoby analysis. I don't want to hear that. Here's what I want to hear. Can't call the program and take shots at my brother. The Amari thing is way too below the waist.
I'm okay with it.
I'm not okay with it.
You can be mean if you're funny.
Because you don't have to be a 7-foot LeBron.
We have to listen. We have to
against
listen to the next voicemail
Amar.
because this is right around the time when my wife is bringing my son home from school, and I could get in trouble.
Okay. Thank you for the love, though.
Yo, what up, though? On the cool check-in, it's your boy Los from Baltimore. And I was just wondering, on the table between y'all, it's a chessboard. I was wondering if you guys played or not. That's it. Hey, and Jalen, back in the day, man, Michigan, Fab Five, teams like Michigan and UNLV made me a basketball fan. All right, keep getting those checks. Peace.
Big shout to Lewis from Baltimore. We have a television version of this radio show you can watch on ESPN2 and ESPN News. And in the table, there is a chessboard in between us. You can actually flip it over to turn into a normal table. But when we got this table that Jalen was crying about for years and years,
and now look at how many shows went from sitting left to right, all of a sudden getting closer and closer to looking eye to eye.
We were looking eye to eye with the other table too, Mr. Rose.
It was too
FYI.
low. You're 6'3".
Okay.
I'm 6'8".
I think you made a right call by getting the high table. He complained about it for about 3 years. Like, he would, like, pull me aside, like, when we eat lunch or something, and just be like, Jacoby, like, I got to talk to you. And I'd be like, oh, no, he's quitting the show. What happened now? And he'd be like, we need a higher table, man. And I would act like I'm working on it, but I wasn't. And then this table finally came, and yes, there's a chessboard here. If you flip over this panel, it could be a regular table. I prefer the regular table look. However, I respect and admire my colleagues and their attention to detail. Other people like the chessboard look, so it's been a chessboard ever since.
Including me. And while I haven't played chess in years, I'm not good anyway.
Could you play?
No.
You couldn't play chess right now?
No.
You couldn't even fake it?
No. But I can play checkers and AC-Deucey on the same board.
What's AC-Deucey?
I'll teach you one day.
Great. Look forward to that. Now I look forward to listening to the next voicemail.
What up, though? Big Crown here again. And a good question. Jalen, let's say you was going into a sketchy situation and you need some backup. Who would you take with you? Antonio Davis, Adele Davis, or Charles Oakley? Give the people what they want.
Oh, that's my guy.
That's your
Big
guy.
Crown. Yeah, again, this is Big Crown. I've never met in my life, but he's at least one of my top 40 friends in California.
So I now have to say something about you and your friend, Big Crown. Hey, Crown.
Jalen.
It ain't for you to say it's a good question.
No, Crown, don't listen to Jalen. Crown, don't listen to Jalen. Because this is a man who talks about how great he is for 4 hours of every day.
Okay. Now, in all seriousness, we appreciate the love. You know you're one of our favorites.
Absolutely. Listens every day.
I
delivering the mail.
Actually, humbly will say, I could have both Davises and Oak if I go into a dark alley because they are family to me.
Another thing I know this about Jalen is Jalen's mature now. You're an adult. You're middle-aged. You're not in sketchy situations. That's not happening anymore. I know where you are.
Well said.
You're watching ESPN in bed.
Well said.
You're watching NBA games. You're working on Countdown.
So if I had to choose, of course, I'll go with the Davis brothers because they were my teammates in Indy. Antonio actually played with Oak in Toronto. I remember playing against those teams when I was in Indy. One distinct memory that stands out to me. I should have made the All-Star team that year. I think it was 99. I think it was 2001 or 2.
Would you average 19.5 points a game? Didn't make the All-Star game?
Vince was a guy, clearly half man, half amazing, that the fans was going to vote in. And I forget the other players that got in.
They didn't deserve it, whoever they were.
I remember being on vacation, watching Vince enjoy All-Star Weekend because we played them right after the weekend. It was like Monday or Tuesday. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be ready. You know what I'm saying? He got to be getting it in some. You know what I mean? I'm just laying down, drinking fruity drinks and working out. Like, he got to be tired. He traveling, shaking hands, kissing babies. I'm going to be ready for this game. And so that stands out to me in those two guys as teammates because playing against that front line was no layups. Even though I just played with Antonio and Oak is family. Turns out, I think we won the game. I had like 40 and so did Vince.
Ooh, good for you. So, I'm a fan of the NBA. I've never played in the NBA. I don't know Charles Oakley. Never shaken his hand, just like James Dolan. But
very nice.
Is he as intimidating, like off court, off wax, as I think he is?
Oak is that guy that, you know, you ever heard the term old man strength?
Yes.
That ends with an F?
Yeah, he's just rooted into the ground like an old tree. You just can't push around.
Oak tree.
That just blew my mind. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Yo, bros, what's going on? It's Jason from New York. Love your show. Anyways, quick question. I know we always talk about Mount Rushmores and all. But here's a big one. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of NBA execs? Let me know. Tell me you got Jerry West on there. Thanks. Bye.
Jason, I appreciate the call. I do not appreciate the homework. You know what I mean? Like whenever I know I have to ask Jalen for a list, I give him some heads up. You know, like Jalen, in the next segment, I need you to list this. He can do his little thing. He can scribble with his left hand. And we are a team. We are a tandem. We are a partnership. So I was basically just stalling so Jalen could get his list together.
And if you listen to the program, I talk about my all-time puppeteers very often because they now lead organizations that become well-coached, players that are productive in uniform, and all of a sudden those teams end up winning championships. We got to start that with Red Auerbach, who, by the way, not only won 11 championships in 13 years back in the day, reinvented the team, won championships with Bird leading them and Paul Pierce leading them when they added KG and or Ray Allen. The next individual, no particular order, Jerry West. The litany of things that he got accomplished in L.A., from Kobe Bryant draft, acquiring Shaquille O'Neal, continuing to usher in Pat Riley continuing to usher in Pat Riley as a head coach.
And what's he doing right now?
Continue that influence that indirectly worked while he was a member of the Memphis that got the Lakers Pau Gasol through the back door. And all of a sudden they won championships and now influencing in Golden State. The other two individuals I can't leave off, Coach Pop in San Antonio reinvented a roster based off international players. And all of a sudden, multiple Hall of Famers, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard is an MVP candidate, and they've won multiple championships. And last but not least, Patrick Riley. I talked about his exploits as a coach and with the Lakers and Showtime and leading those teams. Magic never won a championship without Pat Riley. Neither have Dwayne Wade. So for him to reinvent himself in that fashion for 30-plus years of basketball, that officially is the Mount Rushmore that is immovable, just like my basketball one, of players.
What do we do on this show, Mr. Rose? So we're going to open up our 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed, and we're going to take your questions and advice regarding Valentine's Day. The first one we have is really just advice for our listeners from a female listener. This is from Kelly. Big shout to Kelly. She just said this. Don't get your girl a toaster. # personal experience. What dude in the world got his girl a toaster?
Simple answer. The one that's not in a relationship with her right now.
Not anymore. Yep. But a toaster is not even a toaster oven, which has various uses around the house. A toaster, really limiting. Try putting a pizza in a toaster.
That shot's fired. It's almost like she's not active in the kitchen and he wanted to send a message.
Okay, not active in the kitchen and sending a message is toast. Like, you must really not be active if someone's like, just make some toast. Like, I'm not even going to ask you to make a real meal.
It's not
Let's
that.
just see if you can handle toast. Let's start with baby steps.
You can't even make toast.
Maybe this dude was just really sneak dissing. Just being like, here's a toaster.
Well, she not with
Let's
him
see if you
anymore.
can work this out. Why is it when you put a piece of toast in the toaster and you want it to get a little bit more and you just put it in for another 10 seconds, it turns completely black?
Yeah, you got to scrape it off.
Next suggestion we have is from L-Dog. He writes us a lot. Big shout to him. Give your lady a quick 10-minute foot or back massage to start the date off right.
This is for you. Because
what are you talking about for me?
I've seen your better half not only give you a son, but give you twin daughters. And the entire time she was pregnant, I said that one massage a week should suffice. And for whatever reason, that probably only took place 2 or 3 times. So I want you to answer this.
Do you know what she does now? We'll be sitting there watching television, And next thing you know, I'll be really into, Vanderpump Rules, my shows. What is Jax up to? And then I'll look down, and all of a sudden, there's 2 bare feet in my lap. I didn't even notice. They're just feet all of a sudden right next to my hands. And then she'll move them just so they're kind of like on my hands, kind of like using my hand just to, and then next thing you know, I'm giving her a foot massage. I didn't even notice it. Subconscious foot massage. I'm being manipulated now. You really caused a lot of drama around the house, Jalen. I don't appreciate that. L-Dog has another great piece of advice here. Shout out to L-Dog. L-Dog knows how to get it in. Have the house clean and chores done before your spouse gets home or before you go out on your date. Because you know what? You know what's overrated? Don't give me a box of chocolates. People trying to be health conscious. We're going to get dessert at dinner. I don't need chocolates around the house. You know what I do need? Vacuumed, cleaned, dishes done, my laundry done. That is better than a box of chocolates.
But the only thing is you do all of that cleaning, and then you guys go to dinner, and then she tears up everything getting ready before you go out to dinner. Changing multiple times.
It's you know what? It's not about the functionality of cleaning the house. It's about that moment when she opens the door when she gets home from work, and she looks around, and she's just like, this looks nothing like it did when I left the house. L-Dog is smooth. This I like. This is from Reginald Carr. What are places singles go and meet singles on Valentine's Day where there won't be couples in the way? See, now this is something that is an important angle on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is not just for couples. Valentine's Day is a great day to be single. Do you know why?
Why?
A lot of people looking for a Valentine. If you're out next Tuesday and you're at a bar, you know what you're going to see? Groups of women. And do you know what they're doing? They're celebrating with each other because they don't need a man in their life. And they spend the entire time talking about how they don't need or want a man.
What a man, what a man.
But they wouldn't mind if you came over and chatted with them. Valentine's Day and Halloween are 2 very, very good days to be single. And take that from me, a man who hasn't been single for 16 years.
Halloween has now become all of my fantasies. I'm going to dress up like it that day. For the public and mask it as, it's just Halloween.
Another thing is, if you really want to be nice, and you've got a girlfriend or a wife, but there's someone in your life, a cousin, or someone that you work with, that you're close with, that maybe got out of a relationship recently, that you know is going to be feeling down on Valentine's Day, don't sleep on the non-romantic Valentine's Day gift. You know what? I know there's not someone special in your life right now, but I wanted you to know that you're special to me in a platonic way. You got to do this right. It's not what you do, it's how you do it, because this could end up creepy.
This is weird.
Yep. You don't like this one?
I don't like this one.
I just freestyled that one.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
You don't like that
That can fall along the category of what you said, out for dinner. It just doesn't have to be all women. It could be male and women at the dinner date.
Of course.
Having that conversation.
Dennis has this question. Hey guys, I got married this summer, and this is my first Valentine's Day as a husband. Any tips?
Do a version of what you did as it relates to the honeymoon. A version of that.
A mini honeymoon is what you're going with?
No, just a version. Like, so say for the wedding you had X amount of flowers. Just get a version of that. Whatever you did really big, just do a scaled back Cliff Notes version of that.
So you know we're at the end of the show, and this is the part that my wife definitely doesn't listen to.
Don't get a divorce.
You can dial it back, Dennis. You're married.
I just said it.
You
do
can
a version.
Dial it back. You don't have to try that hard anymore. Just to break up with you, just got to get lawyers involved. It's just so difficult. The paperwork. Just got to tell her parents why it didn't work out. Like, it's tough. Dial it back, Dennis. You're already in there. One thing about Valentine's Day that me and my wife have decided, and I'm not suggesting this to anybody else's, I'm just giving my own personal experience. We don't do gifts. It's not that big a deal. I'm not going to let the calendar tell me what day I should be celebrating our love.
Well, you can do that as a fine husband that you are and parent, because you are able to deliver on that promise daily.
Exactly. Here's a good one. This is from Alex. Don't waste an opportunity to tell someone they're special to you, no matter what. So I just want to use this time to tell you that you're sort of special to me, Jalen.
You're special to me, sir.
But not necessarily in a good way. Everybody got mad at me in the control room because I said that.
What?
Let's just leave it on that awkward note. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening on
Thank
ESPN
you.
Radio, for watching on ESPN2 and
Thank
ESPN
you.
News, and subscribing
Thank you
to the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
You're far too kind.
We out here.